Okay, these are all four of the different ways you can solve a quadratic equation. Notice there are four ways to do the exact same thing. If you have a quadratic equation, you have four options available to you. So the whole point that I'm trying to make here is you can solve these problems in more than one way. And you're solving a problem, so your answer should be the same every single time. It doesn't matter which method you use, your answer should be the same. Now, the whole purpose of having four different methods in order to solve these problems is because sometimes one method works better than the other. Like I said previously, methods 1 and 4 are the most common. The only way you can use zero factor property is if you can factor. Okay, so that means any problem out there, when you end up with a numeric answer, you could have factored to begin with. Now you can have fractions or integers, whatever, but if you just end up with a number as your answer, you could have factored. If you end up with a radical, zero factor property is out. You could not have used that. So factoring, we should be getting good at factoring now. So factoring is the best way to go at these problems in order to work it. Cool. You get the square root property here. So the square root property is when you only have a squared term. And that means if you just have like an x squared or you have a set of parentheses squared, that's when you use your square root property. It's equal to some number. All right? That's whenever you're going to use your square root property. If you have a middle x term in there, square root property is out. But if you have something set up like these two examples, you just do a sweet little square root and you're done. Make sure anytime you physically make the square root symbol that you put a plus or minus in there. Good. Completing the square, that can go for anything. You can work it out to come up with an answer that's a numeric answer. You can work it out and come up with a radical answer. It doesn't matter. Any problem that's a quadratic can be solved by completing the square. However, if you notice number 4 here with the quadratic formula can also be solved with anyone out there. And typically quadratic formula is the chosen method. Completing the square, however, if you remember, you were going to need to know this method. You're going to need to know it for your test. If you don't do completing the square on your test when you're asked, you're going to miss all of those points. So you have to know how to do completing the square because that method shows up again when we start talking about circles. So I'm going to make sure you learn the method now and we're going to apply the method later. Awesome. I can't wait to see you in class. Enjoy working some quadratics.